Are you trying to pay my salary and hawk to a coin?
Claude suggested it, and
All right, picture this. You've built your whole business, or maybe just a really cool personal project, on this amazing new technology. And then one morning you wake up and someone's just pulled the plug. It's gone. Well, that's exactly what just happened in the AI world, and it sent thousands of developers absolutely scrambling.
So let's get right into it. On April 4th, 2026, a whole bunch of developers woke up to find their systems were just broken. I mean, completely disabled. And this quote you're seeing here from a developer, Mr. Lin Uncut, just perfectly sums up the shock. One decision by that provider and everything downstream breaks. That right there, that's the heart of this story, dependency.
Now, this whole thing really revolves around two main players. On one side, you've got Anthropic. They're a massive, multi-billion-dollar AI company, the ones who make the super powerful Claude models. And on the other side, you have OpenClaw. This was the open source darling of the moment. I mean, it just exploded in popularity, literally becoming the fastest growing project on GitHub, a real rising star.
So let's talk about this sudden shutdown. What actually went down? Well, in one single move, Anthropic basically just cut the power. They severed a critical connection and overnight unplugged this huge community from the resource they depended on.
The official word from Anthropic was pretty straightforward. They said that their flat-rate subscriptions, the ones meant for regular people to just chat with Claude, couldn't be used to power these third-party tools anymore, so no more OpenClaw. If developers wanted to keep using their service, they had to move to a pay-as-you-go system, and that's a whole different ballgame, a potentially way more expensive way of doing things.
And look, the sheer scale of this is what's just mind-boggling. We're not talking about a small policy tweak here that affected a few people. No way. This instantly hit over 135,000 active AI agent installations. And a lot of these weren't just side projects for fun. These were the engines driving small businesses and really complex personal workflows.
Okay, so to really get why Anthropic would do this, you have to understand what was going on behind the scenes. There is this kind of billion-dollar loophole, a massive economic problem that just couldn't last. And it all boils down to one simple thing: the huge difference between how a person uses AI versus how an autonomous AI agent uses it.
Yeah, this slide lays it out perfectly. Anthropic's subscription plans were priced for normal, human-level conversation, right? You ask a question, it gives you an answer, you go about your day. But what developers were doing was hooking up these autonomous agents that were just relentless. They were running 24/7, browsing the web, managing tasks, burning through a ton of computing power.
Someone on Hacker News just hit the nail on the head with this. It's the classic all-you-can-eat buffet problem. The whole thing only works because most of us eat on normal amount. But what was happening here? Well, these AI agents were like someone showing up to the buffet with a semi-truck and saying, "Fill her up."
And when you look at the actual numbers, it's just wild. A single OpenClaw agent, if it was running hard, could rack up $5,000 in usage costs in a month. But the user? They were only paying a flat fee of $200. That means Anthropic was just eating the other $4,800 every month for thousands of users.
Okay, but it's not just about the money. We have to talk about the timing of all this, because this is where the story gets a lot more complicated. It makes you wonder, was this just about economics, or was there something else at play? Something a little more competitive.
So let's look at this timeline because it's super important. OpenClaw is growing like crazy. Then on February 14th, its creator announces he's going to work for OpenAI, Anthropic's #1 competitor. And then just a few weeks later, bam, access is blocked. For a lot of people in the developer community, that timing felt, well, a little too perfect to be a coincidence. And so you end up with two completely different narratives, right? Anthropic's official story is, hey, this was just economics. It was costing us a fortune. But if you ask the community, they'll tell you it looks an awful lot like a strategic hit, a way to shut down a popular tool right after its creator jumped ship to the main rival.
So, the free ride was officially over. The community was left scrambling. They had to figure out what to do next, and they had to do it fast. So, how did they adapt?
Well, the first thing people ran into was just sticker shock. A massive one. Suddenly, to get the same results they were getting before, some folks were looking at a cost increase of up to 50 times. 50! Imagine your monthly bill jumping that high overnight.
But the open source community is incredibly resourceful. They didn't just give up. They immediately started working on solutions. And the big idea that emerged was, okay, we can't put all our eggs in one basket anymore.
It was time to build smarter, more resilient systems that didn't depend on one single company.
And this led to a really interesting and honestly a much smarter way of doing things. This shutdown kind of forced everyone to diversify. People started using different models for different jobs, as you can see here. You've got cheap models for simple stuff, more powerful ones for complex tasks. It was a painful transition for sure, but you could argue it actually made the whole ecosystem stronger and healthier in the end.
All right, let's zoom out for a second, because this isn't just a little drama about one company and one open source project. This whole incident is a huge, flashing signpost for where the entire AI industry is headed.
See, for the past few years, we've been living in this kind of Wild West gold rush for AI. Companies were burning through venture capital money just to get users. But that era, it's ending. The party's winding down. Now the question isn't how many users can we get, it's how do we actually make money?
And part of that shift is the rise of what people call walled gardens. Basically, big companies like Anthropic are making it really, really attractive for you to build your stuff inside their playground using their tools. Because when you're inside their walls, they control everything. The message is loud and clear. Build with us on our terms or get ready to pay full price to build somewhere else.
Which really brings us right back to where we started, and to that developer, Mr. Lin Uncut. His quote is the perfect summary of the biggest lesson here. He said, if a single decision from one company can kill your system, then you don't really have a system, you just have a dependency. And that's a huge warning for anyone building anything on someone else's platform.
So that leaves all of us with a really important question to chew on, especially as we build the next wave of technology. When your project, your business, your creation relies on another company's platform, who really holds the power?